Alright guys, this is another revisit. So it seems like when I have, I think, over 1,700 videos posted, it's gonna start to happen where I get a watch that I've already videoed. And this one I videoed a year ago. I think it might even be this exact watch that I actually videoed a year ago. And it went to its new owner, Scotty, one of my founders in my Discord group. So he sent it back in for me to work with for a little bit. And I have to say, I still feel the same way about it. Even a year later, 2 years, however long it's been since I've been aware of the Helson Shark Diver 40mm, there are a ton of great options in the lineup, but finding one with the eta2824 in the 40mm one is the Goldilocks. It's the sweet spot. It is the one to try to find if you are looking for the Helson Shark Diver and you have a wrist size similar to mine. I believe this is the best out there. I could be wrong, but I've looked at a lot of these and I feel like this is the one to go for. This one is running on the time grapher plus minus 0 seconds dial up. And it's not new. This is a few year old watch, so it is still performing. And it has been worn. I remember wearing it a year ago when I had it in the shop here, and Scotty wore it a little bit. He didn't wear it a ton, but regardless if a watch is worn or sitting or something like that, the fact that you can just wear it or wind it up and it still performs as you would expect it to, I think is a testament to the movement that is in this one. So 120 click bezel. This is a 40mm watch. Although the case is actually a little bit smaller than 40. The 40 is kind of more like where the bezel is. 49 lug to lug. These are some really good dimensions, guys. You can see you have like special hardware or screws going through holding that down. It's super robust. And only 12.2 thick. Now it looks a little bit thicker than it really is, right? That's because of that slab side. You see that on the Tudors and some other watches, but definitely on the Helson. 20mm lug width here. You can see you have pretty wide shoulders here on this bolster, even though you only have a 20mm here and it's a 40mm watch. So it kind of, again, makes it look a little more beefy than the size really is. You know, 40 by 49, that's a pretty reasonable size for a dive watch, especially 500-meter depth rating. 7.5mm screw down crown, massive crown guards here, built out of this case. So, but still easy to operate. Plenty of traction on those. Also, big, nice teeth on the bezel action, but they're not sharp, but they're deep enough that you got plenty of traction because it is a firm bezel. It has a nice, smooth, consistent click all the way around, and there is zero play in this thing. Zero. Like, it's not playing around. So, so that's really good. The lume on this is going to be insane good, and then your date is down there in between the 4 and 5. H-link bracelet, non-tapering, has screw hardware, so on both sides though. So there's like a little screw and then there's the long screw that goes through. So can be tricky to size up, but once you get it sized with a little bit of thread lock, you are good to go. 4 micro adjust on the stamped clasp, milled center section. Pretty easy to operate. Actually kind of reminds me slightly of my Breitling clasp as far as just the feel of it, the way it operates. No dive extension on this or anything, no half links or anything like that. So getting a true fitment on this with H-links, if you have any experience with H-links, sometimes it can be tricky, because when you remove a section, you actually remove quite a bit of bracelet out of there. So let me pop this on my 7 1/4. Before I do, why don't we show it next to the Breitling? Because there's a lot of owners of like Breitling, Rolex, all these other brands that also own the Helson. That's always been a thing where Submariner owner guys have always like kind of for some reason snatched on to some earlier Helson Shark Divers and wore that as a substitute just in case they needed something to be knocked around or something. So that was always kind of interesting to me. I'm assuming that's still the case these days, but just an interesting little thing I learned about earlier on. But yeah, on wrist, it has a nice weight to it, actually very similar to the Breitling. I think the Breitling might be a touch heavier, but as far as feel on wrist, it's actually very similar. But just a great wearing watch, great looking. It's thin enough feeling on wrist because it's only just over 12 millimeter, but yet it has that slab side, so it has some presence. It looks very masculine and very tough and super legible. The Lume, guys, the Lume on this Helson is, it challenges all other Lume monsters out there for sure. So we can do a quick close-up and then we'll close out with the Lume shot that I spoke so much about. So let's close up here. You can see you have, well, a little bit of dust on top, sorry about that, but you got, I don't know if that's, it's not really a matte or a gloss. It's kind of like in between there, maybe like a satinish type dial. Huge printed on indices all the way around. You can see they're even trying to glow in this studio light. You have that kind of brushed, I don't know if it's brushed, maybe just a satin silver handset, so it's super legible against that black dial. The Shark Diver's in orange, nice little contrast. I like orange. I like orange to be a little bit brighter than that, but it's orange nonetheless. So you can see that oversized signed crown. The finishing on it, I mean, this is a tool watch. You can see it's been nicked and banged in the sizing procedure. The bracelet's all kind of marred up and everything like that, but this watch can take it. And that's really what this watch was built to do. It's a bit of an anode to your maybe more expensive watches. This is the sacrifice watch. So if you want to try it on different straps or just wear it with a little less regard than some of your more expensive pieces, this is the one to do it. Because even new, if you go to the Shark or to the Helson website, which I'll put a link in the description, I have no contact or affiliation with them. They have never worked with me, unfortunately. I think this new was like $690 something, and then you can get the ones with the Miyota movements for less. But then on the secondary market, these are just straight up hard to find with the ETA movements in the 40 mil. From what I've looked at, they're like super hard to find. So they kind of hold their value pretty good. All right, let's kill the lights and check the Lume on this beast. Yeah, I mean, look at it. Like it's ridiculous. Like, I don't know. Is it nuclear? I don't know what's going on here. It's almost like it's battery powered or something. It's a beast, to say the least. I mean, even with the monster in the background, for example, I mean, there's the monster next to it. And the monster looks weak. And you guys know how bright the monster is. So the Helson is overpowered when it comes to Lume. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next vid.